All right, guys. Welcome back. Let me do my little audio check here. Make sure everything is up and running. Let's see here. Sometimes you gotta wait a minute, especially with running Wi-Fi. I am not seeing my feed. So, all right, there we go. All right, audio sounds good. All right, guys. So tonight we have Snafu Snaps with us. He's actually sitting in the background right now. I'm going to bring him in here in a minute. A couple things right fast. We have hit 2,800 subscribers. We did that today. So again, thank every single one of you guys for subscribing. Thank you all for the likes and the sharing on your social media platforms. Trust me, I know some people don't like social media platforms. Like I won't name the names because they get flagged, but you know which ones I'm talking about. But for those that do use them, thank you. Thanks again for that support there. So yeah, the channel is growing. I see a lot of people in here already. Um, we got Happy Prepper. Good to see you, buddy. John, absolutely, always glad to have you modding for us, man. I do appreciate your help on that. Wandering American. We got Lois Young and Lisa Jones, Randy Aid, Ken Kerr. Yeah, we got quite a few already in here. Um, so let me go ahead and bring in Snafu Snaps before his coffee gets cold. Today we got a lot of stuff to cover. Usually, I try making my streams very laid back. I've had a lot of people tell me they appreciate my laid backness. I don't sit there and preach doom and gloom. This is a topic, though, I think needs to be addressed. Um, Give me a second. I got to open up my door to the bunker because I'm having interference on my end since I'm on Wi-Fi. So give me a second, guys. All right. So hopefully that runs better. All right. See here, Jay Stone 78. Good to see you, girl. How you doing? Lisa R. Hall, how's it going? You know what? I did not get you as a moderator yet, and I do apologize for that. I've actually been waiting for you to catch the live stream again so I can do that. So give me a second, and I will fix that problem. It's something I want to do for a while now. So again, I do apologize for not doing that earlier. It's just easier to catch you on a live stream to do it. Let's see here. All right, gotcha. Okay, South Florida, good to see you, buddy. South Florida's been with us since practically the beginning. He's a real dude, great dude. Who else we got here? Got a lot of people. All right, so yeah, this is going to be one of those topics that we've been avoiding a lot. Your sound is cutting out, CFP. Let me double check our audio. All right, let me move my coffee cup and get the microphone closer. All right, give me a second, guys, while I unplug the audio and redo that. All right, testing 1, 2. Trying the audio again. Okay, hopefully that works good. Just let me know. It's just that adapter piece. I need to buy a nicer, more expensive adapter for the microphone. So we'll get there. I appreciate that, CJ Blaze. Thanks a lot. And again, always thank you for coming over here and keeping my butt out of trouble. All right, so topic tonight, like I said, is something that I've been kind of skipping around because a lot of people appreciate not the doom and gloom. And it's not doom and gloom. This is just something that people need to be aware of. A lot of people, especially with the prepping community, we're more concerned about just sitting back, loading up all of our food, and ready to hunker down or run to a bug out location. But we really don't have a lot of plans in place. We think we do. And tonight we're going to be discussing some more pros and cons on this subject. So guys, I'm going to bring Snafu Snap in. WV, good to see you. WV does have a live stream tonight. I believe she is doing it in about 2 hours, 10 o'clock. So definitely make sure you guys get over there and check out her live stream tonight. All right, let me bring in Snafu. All right, Snafu, can you hear me?
Yeah, how's it going, Central Florida Prepper?
All right, pretty good, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me on, my man. And congratulations on your mile marker. And hi, Central Florida Prepper fam.
Good old coffee. Definitely appreciate that, man. It's the channel is growing, which is great. And again, guys, that's because of every single one of y'all. It's not what I'm doing. I'm just putting videos together and putting them out there. You guys are the one taking the time to watch it and stuff like that. So yeah, that's actually because it's your fault that this channel's growing, which is okay with me. Fault. All y'all's fault.
All their fault. That's the truth. But no, awesome, man. Congratulations, Central Florida Prepper. I can't be more stoked for someone that deserves it more than you, man. And I mean, you're gonna be up there, dude. You're popping. So I mean, just keep rocking it, man. It's so cool.
I'm hoping that I'll be able to make sure I get to all the comments like I'm able to do right now, which right now, sometimes it gets a little, I have to sit down for a couple hours and get to that in the emails, but hopefully, excuse me, I'll be able to continue that. Can you see the chat on your computer?
I can, and actually I'm just looking at everyone in your house, man. A lot of names I know, a lot of names I don't know, but I mean, awesome. Lisa R. Hall, Lois Young, Jake Stone 78, Wandering American, MG Toe Forever. So very cool, Central Florida Prepper fam, to see y'all here tonight. Very cool.
All right, right on. Okay, so we were discussing some things a couple days ago when we were talking on the phone, and of course I can't go over every detail, guys, and there's some things that are going on, just operational security purposes, but one of our topics did pop up, and that's what the show is about. Like I said, kind of beat around the bush on this for a while. A lot of people make plans, especially to either bug in or bug out. And one of the things I want to talk about tonight is the bug out location, the bug out plans with the bug in. A lot of people, and I understand they are limited. They have to bug in. There's just no way of bugging out for them. That takes a lot of things. One, finances. It takes a lot of preparation, a lot of time to plan these things out. Medical. There's a lot of people that are preppers, but they are disabled. They don't have vehicles. They're disabled to where they can't just jump on a bicycle and go right down the road, or let alone lug a pack around. So yeah, this is also an issue for preppers, and I think a lot of people kind of really don't get into it enough. And when it comes down to what we're going to really talk about tonight, family. We all have family. All right. And not everybody's on board when it comes to prepping. A lot of people sit there and they think you're crazy. They will make the tinfoil hat for you. They kind of brush you off. You know what? You're nuts. Everything's fine. But they're still your family. It's easy to sit there and say, you know what? I'm just going to write you off. I'm going to look out for myself. But they're your family, a spouse, right, a child, a parent. So we're going to get into that. So tonight, it's going to be interesting, guys. Snafu, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your channel?
Sure. Again, thank you so much for the opportunity to come on your channel and hang out with you guys tonight. My name is Snafu Snaps. We have, for those of you, we got a lot of Snafu crew members here. And That's what we do. I pretty much, my goal is to pretty much put that truth, as I call it, out there and encourage everyone else to do their own truth, And I'm just proud that we have channels like you and others out there who are doing their thing, getting on the grind, because the subject that we're going to talk about tonight, which I mean is so realistic, and I hope we have that clarity moment tonight like we did between us. I hope we could share it with the people tonight, because when you seriously think about when things go bad, okay, and like there are some things that you talk about that you're like, I'm so glad I actually even talked about this.
Yeah.
And I just hope that we can find something just talk about this subject. So I appreciate you bringing me on the channel. But yeah, my name's Snafu Snaps. We're at the Snafu crew, and that's the truth, man.
I was just watching your video feed there, and I just thought about, how people, informants or witness protection, they're in the shadow. You look like you're in the shadow. You're like one of those individuals. My my identity will not be revealed. There's a bright light.
It's funny. A lot of people, it's just really because I'm ghetto fabulous. It's not necessarily I do lighting. A lot of people are like, oh, do you set your lighting that way? Do you do it this way? And I just am like, no, it's just the camera, my lighting. I'm ghetto fabulous. I do what I do. But I mean, again, that's part of what we're going to talk about, guys. I'm so glad Central Florida Prepper talked about it. Is we have so many people of different levels of life, moral beliefs, and just the way they live. And the whole when shit hits the fan type deal goes down, we really should discuss some of those things. And a lot of it has to do with our family, like I was telling him. So, no, man, it's just the I left it because it leaves a little shadow mystique to it,
Absolutely. And I, on the other hand, am a camera ham. So there we go. I just like showing off the sideburns. That's it. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and get into some of this topic here. One of the things that we were discussing was our bug in locations, things like that. All right. A lot of people plan on bugging in, and they want to sit there. They got all this ammo, firepower, things like that, and they're going to hunker down and actually believe that they're going to be able to fight off multiple waves. And there's a huge misconception here, guys. I talk about this a lot, but I want to bring this back up. All right. Now, when you are stationary position, you're home. All right. You are a sitting, non-mobile target. Now, the idea of running around with your bang-bangs and taking on the world is, I'm going to make people mad, but it's pure fantasy. Okay. Yes, you can deal with a certain situation when they arise. When you have a sizable group force coming at you and you are stationary, all right, well, my house is solid block, bullet won't go through. Okay, now I've talked about this housing issues in the past when I first started my channel. A round will go through a modern home, easy. It is
happens all the time in America, every day, everywhere else too.
It is OSB board. It is siding on the outside, wrapped with plastic, OSB board, 2x4s that are separated 16 inches apart, center insulation, which can be ripped right through, and sheetrock.
No, Prepper. There's something that I do want to bring up to you though that you mentioned when we had our conversation last. Mm-hmm. When we talked about this, there's something that Central Florida Prepper kind of, when we were talking about this, we're kind of doing a scenario of the beginning of when shit hits the fan type deal. And there is a difference between, as you put it to me that night, military and civil unrest.
Yeah.
Just civil unrest. And we were kind of starting this off as looking at Venezuela or all these other countries out there. Okay, because they choked off the towns. As you saw, the highway systems were cut off. As Prepper pointed out, which traffic control, the big barrier walls, and things like that. These systems and highways are made for a reason strategically. And, we saw like the town people having to like go to gutters to just get water to get it themselves. And so, like, I guess we should like clarify. This is more of. Are you talking more of a civil unrest, or Are you talking more of a military unrest? Because we were talking about like right when crap hits the fan, like me and you, because that's where I was like, I got to get out of the city, man.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So there is a big difference, and I'm glad you brought that to my attention, Prepper, when we were talking
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, we're definitely going to bring that incorporated in. I just want to go with the scenario first that's always brought to my attention. It's either bug out or bug in, and I want to
Right.
clear up the air on the myth of bugging in, especially in the city location. It all plays into scenarios. It depends on what's going on. Okay, it could just be. I guess we're more or less talking about civil unrest or martial law with civil unrest. Okay, and the home, like I said, a round can go right through it unless you've got a solid block building. But then again, if somebody wants your stuff and you're outmassed, you can only watch so many locations at once. They will burn you out. All right. Now, when we're talking about the military and things like that, I'm a full believer that the U.S. military will have Americans back. All right. Now, there are some bad groups in every group. My concern and the way I see things coming as far as the military is concerned, if a civil unrest issue is going on or some massive disaster, which will break into civil unrest, natural disaster causing it, I would not be surprised to see National Guard being organized by governors, state officials. All right. Now, they will attempt to enforce martial law as far as what is good for us is and good for everybody else is what we say. So there will be a lot of door-to-door confiscation of foods. All right, there will
Yeah.
definitely be door-to-door confiscation of bang bangs. They will definitely take. We have seen that in the past with the firearm issues. Look at Katrina. All right, they went
Yep.
door to door. And we had discussed that video where the little old lady, she was safe in her home. She had food, she had water, and she had protection. The police came in. When she went to show them the firearm, all right, and they body slammed her to the ground. They were forcing her
They
out.
took her down. They took her
Now,
down. Well, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up, Central Florida Prepper. Hurricane Katrina, to me, okay, you guys, we have, okay, especially being someone who is in the system and have to get your rights back, your right to bear arms, this and that, and we see a lot of the disarming of the nation optics, as I like to call it.
mhm,
And what I wanted to say is, I'm so glad you brought Hurricane Katrina up, and we did. There's footage of the 80-year-old lady. A lot of people in Hurricane Katrina don't realize the severity of the crimes, the rapes, the murders, the kidnappings that happened at the Superdome, or everything that was going on inside the disaster zone, as far as the looting and everything else goes. And a lot of people, some of the areas only have water to their ankles. Some of the people had water up to their waist. And a lot of the people who had water up to their ankles wanted to protect their property, their cars, their trucks, their, everything, their jewelry, their safes. They didn't want their house to get looted. And that's every bit their right? It's their property. Their house didn't get too messed up. They legally own their guns, okay? They're legal citizens, and it's during a natural disaster. Okay, so of all times when you would need your right to bear arms, during a natural disaster, during a time of danger, during a time of looting and civil unrest, on your own property, by loophole laws, FEMA came in there and took the right to bear arms away from you. So
yeah,
I just want the people to realize, me in Central Florida were talking about this. The disarming, if they want to disarm you, they will. They'll come in like the cops. They'll come in there just like, the agency they are, if they want to start disarming people, whether or not you're legal or not.
Paul Revere, I see your comment there. I worked in Katrina with a contract company. It was not that bad. I have family that was in that area. It was bad.
It's very bad. I got friends out
what
there.
the issue that you're dealing with as far as working with a contract company, I understand what you're talking about. I have seen where some were in locations that weren't that bad. All right. But now I have family in that area that was there when looting and stuff was going on. And I'm not talking about the Superdome. It was bad.
No.
When they come in and declare national emergency, now they can take your rights for your firearms away from you because they say so, and they have the right to relocate you.
Yes.
I did not give anybody that right. All right, now everything was passed kind of under the rug, underneath the table, and I don't agree with that one bit. If you are secure in your home, you have everything good to weather out a natural disaster. They have no right to get involved in the middle of everything.
But
Now,
they did, and they aggressively did. Like it wasn't as if you, like I mean, and that's where you got to come like choices. I guess at that point, a matter in time in your life, you know, I mean, our rights were completely trampled on during Hurricane Katrina, in my opinion. For the first time in American history, in my opinion, at that moment, we were totally shown the right to bear arms during a time of need. You know, we just don't have it.
yeah,
You know, I mean, because you're absolutely right. If you're hunkering down, taking care of your own, you know, and here's the thing: is Central Florida Prepper is right on the money too. Is a lot of these people were stuck on the houses, stuck in at camps that they set up. You know, not just the Superdome, in the area of disaster, and FEMA. It wasn't like they could pick you up, take you out there, and then drop you off on a curb and say, "Have a great day." Once they pick you up and save you, which almost 98% of us would take the saving probably. Once you're there, then you're processed.
I'm sorry, I was reading the chat there. Yeah, and, you know, I've also read the reports where people were on the boats, you know, minding their own business because they have their own boats, and go to dock on shore, and they were met with officials and disarmed.
Yes.
That's their property. All right. But it goes back into the whole disaster, claiming natural disaster, FEMA's authority that was given. And we all know we don't like that organization. All right. My wife has a couple friends that works for the FEMA that's actually here in this region where we're at. And they even said there's no way that we can take care of everything. When everything goes down, there's just no way. And actually, when everything goes down big, they're going back to their families. So back to the topic about bugging and stuff like that. The misconception is that you can just hunker down. It just depends on the scenario, people. It really does. If it's a severe hurricane, you know, we got power out here, yeah, we're good. But that's because we took precautions. A lot of people can't. When it comes down to the military, especially when they're doing the martial law stuff, like I said, if it's a major disaster, let's say an EMP, for an example, okay, solar flare, something like that, coronal mass ejection, whole country's bombarded with it. And I'm not talking bad about the National Guard, but their sole thing is that they will be taking orders from state officials.
Have you noticed with our and something I agree with you on? I agree with you that I trust our U.S. Army to defend us Americans and be there for us.
Yeah.
But one thing that I do notice, okay, and because we do have seen the drills of urban tactical training, this and that, have you noticed foreign soldiers being implemented more on U.S. soil as of late, or is that just me? And that's just my question to you, Central. You know, because if the UN or something got involved or something crazy like that, you're absolutely right. We have American soldiers that would never do that. But, I mean, is that just me, or am I kind of tripping on it? Because when you look at the optics, as I call it, it's almost like little chess pieces being set up for an event, of course.
Yeah, I don't have any information as far as concern about foreign military on U.S. soil. I've seen reports here and there. I haven't been able to verify anything on that specific. I do know that there's a lot of things being said about UN forces and stuff like that. I'm not denying that. I just can't confirm it. You know, I can't sit there and say absolutely because I just can't confirm that.
Absolutely, no, I get it.
I did see somebody ask about where does the Second Amendment stand in martial law. There is no Second Amendment rights. Your rights are stripped away when martial law is in place. There is no rights.
You are as people in prison put it, when you're put in prison, you're a slave. Martial law is complete control of everything.
Martial law can relocate civilians for reconstruction. Basically work camps. They can do that if they want to. All right, it just depends on the disaster. I mean, if they need it to, and that's where the big issue is going to be. It's going to be the figureheads above everybody else, what their intentions are. And the fact is, we see in today's society with the public officials, there's a lot of shady characters. There's a lot of people that care nothing about their own stuff. I disagree with in military backing citizens. They will follow orders. Well, John, like I said before, it just depends on. There's always bad seeds everywhere. There's bad seeds in police force. There's bad seeds in people. All right, just plain out simple. I believe the most part, especially the Army, Marine Corps, it's a lot of your special forces. They took an oath and they're gonna follow that oath. All right, now there will be some that are in charge that wants to jump on board. Yeah, we got it. And they might be thinking this is the correct way to do it. We have to make these people do this to for the survival of America. And then there's going to be those that say no, this is against the Constitution. This is against the oath that we took in protecting American citizens.
Right.
So I do see a military conflict, and
I think it will be gradually put in too. Like it would be like a soft implication, and then it would just gradually pick up, like such as curfews or roadside checkpoints and things to that nature, and then increase. In my opinion, that's kind of how I see.
And a lot of that is going to be the first part of it. All right. Now, when it first happens, you're going to see a lot of control issues, but when it's widespread, that control is going to fall. All right.
Yeah.
When it first happens, yes, there's going to be a huge police presence. There's going to be military law, basically, and it's going to work, especially with the larger cities. But the further it goes, the more in depth it is. It's not going to make it. Now, back to the National Guards. Like I said, they will be more, in my opinion, they'll be more listening to the state authorities. All right, and we're going to start seeing a lot more roundups from house to house. Okay, now this goes back to bugging in. Now, when that scenario plays out, this isn't all scenarios, this is just one scenario. When that scenario plays in and they come rolling up to check for food, firearms, you don't just have one individual knocking on your door. You have trained individuals. Okay, now when you get into the regular Army, the Marine Corps, things like that, they're not going to put up with it. They'll be along for a little bit, but they're not going to put up with what's happening. When they see the broad scope, they're going to be the ones right there with the civilians. It will be a civil conflict, and it'll take a while to wake up some, but it's going to be, each state's going to be trying to secure their resources. In my opinion, they're going to try to secure the resources, whatever means necessary, and it's going to be for their benefit, not everybody else. They'll open up little chow hall lines, things like that. That's it. Yeah, I'm not talking bad about military. My whole family's military. I'm proud.
Yeah, we love our military. We're just talking scenarios, you guys. I mean, you think about it. The UN, the military, just like our government, like you said, you get good apples, bad apples, and that's all entities of everything.
Yeah, we're gonna start seeing faction groups. That's what's gonna break off.
Like little militias, basically. Militias, right?
Down, like I said, with EMPs or coronal mass ejection, it's not going to be one entity anymore. There's going to be a lot of faction groups trying to.
And here's another thing. And here's another thing for people to realize. If we go into a civil unrest, all right, and this is something for a lot of people to think about. And I know me being someone who's been locked up before, you probably, and others out there who've experienced being in the system, kind of beta test, so to speak, of FEMA camp type stuff. What happens when you segregate people and put people of all different kinds of lifestyles and ethnics and stuff together? Or if there's civil unrest and everyone's just acting a fool, you get what's called mob mentality and gang type mentality and race clicking and things to that nature. And I think here in the United States, just like the prison systems and the jail systems, that is going to increase 1 billion times, which will create those small factions that you're talking about, fractured throughout the world or the United States. If it became civil unrest, it would be kind of like the Walking Dead mixed with some NWO or NWA. I don't know. It'd be insane, in my opinion. And I'm glad that you brought out being like, if stuff happened in a city, I'd be scared to get trapped in the city after seeing Venezuela. You know that, CFP?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got this door open. I keep hearing it's like someone's raking leaves in the dark.
Oh, man.
That's why I keep leaning over. I mean, another reason why I don't like the city, when people start self-medicating, they start doing stupid shit.
Right.
It just annoys me. I don't like living that close with people. WVSO, maybe that's when the UN, because the government knows our military won't turn against us. That's exactly right. When I'm talking about the National Guard, I'm talking about the immediate protection of the government officials. That's a different story. All right, they're I'm going to piss off people. They are real quick to be the go-to, yes sir, and not think things through. Um, we will see, and it's not just. I'm not bashing people. I'm just saying these scenarios. I'm seeing that that's what's going to be going down. Do I think that everyone's going to start mowing down American citizens? No, no. But now, when it comes to life and liberty, and your property, all that's gone. They're going to come in force, take it. All right, they might not hurt you personally, but when they come through and their state officials saying this is our property, we're taking this from you for the good of the
Right.
people, you don't have a leg to stand on. And then when
It's,
it goes back to sitting there and I've got this, I've got that, I've got 1,000 rounds of this, that's not going to do you no good when that situation plays in. And it's not all situations. SHTF is multiple different scenarios. That's just one. And that's why when I was talking to you about on the phone, you were talking about, well, setting up some type of timeline if something's going down, and you got family out there that you got to get out. You got to get out of Dodge. All right, and these family members are not wanting to leave, or they want to wait to see if things are going to be better.
right. Like
So
we talked about how many people would probably just sit around. Like say the electricity went out in the United States, whether it was East Coast, West Coast, or something, right? And me and you, we know that it would just take 1 to 3, 4, 5 days, something like that, and then big time problems occur after
yeah,
that. Big time problems of all different sorts of kinds of problems. Okay, rabbit holes everywhere.
yeah,
And the one thing I told Central Florida Prepper is I was like, I got family sometimes who are like the most unawake people in the world. And I sat there and I was like, man, I don't know if I would wait like maybe 2 to 3 days and then get out of Dodge, being in a city. Because I sure as heck don't want to get choked off in a city on because they got all the main highways shut down through checkpoints or something like that, because we all have our spots, as you call, bug in, bug out, da da. And in my opinion, I was like, well, I think I'd wait maybe 2 to 3 days and then I'd bounce out and maybe I'd have to like grab them or not grab them. But it started making me think, because Central Florida Prepper had it right, is how many people uh, are going to just sit there and wait,
yeah,
for someone to fix the problems, before even acting. And I think that is what is going to be a big thing, is people aren't even when the event occurs, or so to speak, and it's going to be really downhill after this or that. I think so many people are going to have the "it's okay" motto. And I'm not trying to be fair pornish or anything. I'm just trying to be like reality about it. Like, I think there'll be people more concerned taking their cell phones out every day, holding them up in the air, and spending hours and hours doing that versus the hours and hours of trying to figure out where to go next, what to do. Da, da,
yeah.
da, da. Now, that's part of the plan, okay? But I think a lot of people are going to get like tripped up, man, and it's just only going to get worse. That's my opinion on it,
Yeah.
on that part.
No, I definitely value your opinion on that. This is something we to discuss. I want to bring up a little story right fast. I do want to address something. I saw something in the chat. Someone stepped out, said this was too tinful of a topic for them, and I understood. That's fine.
So
I do want to say this: we're preppers. So what do we prep for? The worst case possible scenarios.
any
So, like
scenario.
I said, this is a scenario. It doesn't mean this is going to come into play. This is a scenario that I have thought about, things that I am running through and planning for. Okay, so I'm sorry if it's not other people's cup of tea. Like I said, this is going to be a topic that other people won't like. This isn't fear porn. This is
Well,
planning things through.
let me ask you this, Prepper. I know this is something for a lot of people to think about. You get a lot of people who sit there, and you got guys like you who are getting the gasoline, the prepping stuff, the tools, homesteading it, getting really set to be dependent.
Yeah,
Okay, on you, man to nature, we are so farther away from nature, it's not even funny.
Yeah.
Okay, our pioneer days, people had to make their own furniture. People had to make their own silverware. People had to make their own everything. Okay, we are so far away from nature and man at this point in the life that it really is a death sentence already if shit hit the fan in so many ways. Okay, to millions. Here's what I do got to say is we got a lot of people out there who say, well, I don't want to talk about subjects like this, or it's tinfoil hattish, or, oh, you guys are just talking crazy scenarios. But hey, you know what? I hear a lot of people saying, I got God and he'll protect me. I have God too. He'll protect me. But God also told me to be smart and aware of situational circumstances that could arise and happen. And I think in the day and age that we're in, as high as the optics that we're seeing are, and as much lies that mainstream media has shown us, and I'm telling you, we see the persecution of the Christians, we see the persecution of just regular people around the world already now, we see the censorship going on, we see people being imprisoned for journalism. Okay, so these subjects, whether or not they're tinfoil to some people or not, or this, that, I think you have it right. You could pray all you want. You could have God all you want, but you have to do the work and the actions, just a thought process to make it work. You got to be real with yourself and got to be like, well, if this happens, I should do this, or what would I do if this happened? Should I go here? Should I go there? It's about preparations.
Yeah, and I do see that a lot, especially in the prepper community. A lot, also the truther movement. A lot of people say, well, as long as I trust in God, the end time's coming, I'll be good. Yes and no. Yes, you'll be good for your eternal soul. But he also gives you the mindset to protect yourself. All right. He also gives you the mindset to think, free will, and to plan. It even goes back to Noah, the ultimate prepper. Now, he had a direct communication with God. All right. He was actually talking directly and receiving information. All right. Now, I do not have that direct line. I try to live my life the best I can. I'm a man. All right. I mess up all the time. Okay. Now, I'm prepared, put on the full body of God and all this. Yeah, the full body of the full armor of God is to deal with spiritual warfare. Now, I want to make an example, explain something here. When we see these massive typhoons, when we see these hurricanes, when we see these droughts where people die, are they only people that dies because they don't believe in God? No, it's natural disaster. All right. Now, God giving you wisdom, you see a threat coming. He gave you wisdom to move out of that location. All right. And a lot of people get confused or stubborn in certain things. Well, all I have to do is trust God. Now, when there is absolutely no way you can do anything, yes, I definitely believe in, God's going to take care of me because I cannot do anything. Yes, that is definitely believing in God to take care of something. But when you have the opportunity to secure your livelihood, save your family,
right?
I kind of think that he wants you to use your brain. That's what he gave it for, to get out of a location if it's going bad. Now, I'm not saying anything bad about people that have complete faith. I'm not going to call it blind faith because I have faith. But I also know that when a situation's going on, he also gave me enough brains to get out of Dodge when I need to get out of Dodge. Or if I have a feeling from the Holy Spirit telling me, no, you need to wait, then I'm going to listen to it. Okay, I'm going to wait. For whatever reason, something's telling me I need to wait. I'm going to listen to that. It doesn't mean I'm just going to hunker down and, well, it's okay because God's going to take care of me.
Right. It's like, and this is something to be 100% real. And I tell people all the time, I say, well, if you're going to pull that card out, then you need to remember what happened with Job. Okay, Job suffered. And I love how you said Noah was the ultimate prepper, because in so many ways, there's so many preppers throughout the Bible. And even aside from just the Bible, aside from religion, is to be realistic about things, especially in a survivalist manner, okay, such as, I want to stay warm. What are the ways that will keep me warm if something happens to where most conveniences that I'm used to are not available anymore.
Yeah.
Okay? You may be labeled crazy. You may be labeled tinfoil hat, but I guarantee you'd be the one that everyone wants to be if shit hit the fan and you're the warm one and everyone else is the cold one. It just I truly feel that these talks are stuck, and they do become tinfoil talks because that's the whole process of the whole, like, oh my gosh, doomsday prepping type. The clock's down. NWO minus Hulk Hogan. Who knows how, when, what? There's so many rabbit holes. But the reality is your safety and your well-being, you and yours. Okay, and I respect people like you with the utmost respect who take the time to not only do what they say they do, but also take the time to critically think about these subjects. So thank you, for real. I mean, it's good that you bring this up and bring it to attention to people.
It's like you said, critically thinking it through. One of the things I want to talk about, when we had Hurricane Irma come through a few years back, I was staying at a motel. We had just moved out of Daytona. I was paying by the week. I was working, and we're in transition to find affordable living. Well, the motel was cheap. That way I had a place to live while I was working until I found, an apartment or trailer or whatever. During that time, the hurricane came through, and we lost power for 10 days, and there was nothing. Okay, nothing was moving at the time right there in Orlando. We were standing outside the motel. We were like on the 3rd floor, which sucked. So there's a lot of staircases. So anyway, we're sitting outside. I'm smoking a cigarette, and this woman comes flying up in her minivan, screaming, hollering. I'm thinking there's a medical emergency. I'm right there. I threw down my cigarette. My wife's there. I'm going to see what's going on. And no, I'm not a medic. I had some field training. As far as field medical training, I can stop a bleed. That's about it. I'm going to stitch you up. But I'm thinking there's an issue. So I run over there. What's wrong? Do y'all have Wi-Fi? I'm looking at her. This is the 3rd day that the hurricane came through. There's nothing working. I'm looking at her. I said, no, we just had a hurricane go through. There is no Wi-Fi. And she holds this phone up to my face. It has no signal, and it's almost dead. I bought this phone, and they guarantee me that I would always have Wi-Fi. And she's pissed. She's raising pain. She says she's driven all over the place trying to find Wi-Fi.
Wow.
That is not a made-up story. There is people that will sit in a location for a very long time looking and waiting for help. I mean, this woman was mobile, looking for a mobile signal. But I saw that. I'm just scratching. I'm trying to explain to her. A hurricane went through. Everything's down. And it's not a satellite phone. This is a little flip phone, like I don't know what's the cheap ones. But anyway, it's a cheap cell phone. There's nothing fancy about it. Screaming. I mean, like frantic that she could not find a Wi-Fi spot. And I'm like, what is wrong with people? And that actually,
I tell you what, that's the one thing that scares me the most. Yeah, that's the one thing that scares me the most, Central, is that we here in America, we love our technology, we love our food, and we're all Hollywooded up, like in my mind. And no, you're absolutely right. And I don't know if it's because people are just kind of dumbfounded, but I think they put too much faith into having it fixed.
Yeah.
I swear, if someone had to make their own spoon to eat soup in today's day and age, how many people could actually figure out what to do? I'm not trying to be, knock anyone, but it's kind of just the dumbing down of the connectiveness of mankind with nature.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Give me 1 second. Keep on with that topic. I need to use the restroom. I had 4.
Okay, guys.
Before we
no, definitely, man.
But yeah, you definitely continue on with this.
Okay. Well, I mean, that is another thing that we see is we see schools, okay, with physical education classes. We see all these new again, I like to talk how far away from nature mankind truly is nowadays, because that makes you weak, right? Same with diabetes and obesity and the type of foods and things like that. if you look at other countries versus the country, all things have an agenda, in my opinion. I talk about it all the time. Like, I believe Agenda 21 and everything else. It's all real, you guys. And these scenarios should be talked about. They need to be talked about, but you need to be realistic with yourself. Okay? I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, well, I'll just bunker in my house and I'll just be okay and da-da-da. Well, do you not realize, like he said, they could go door to door, pull you out of your house and say, you got to go here. They could go door to door, take you and make you go through the process of what they want to process you. And all that I'm seeing is we're seeing the laws being changed to where it has these New World Order optic type stuff. We saw the forced vac stuff, all this other stuff. And it's like, it's a desensitization thing. And they want people to be as far away from nature and as far away from being independent on themselves, because they want you, the mass, all of us, to be fully dependent on what they can bring, whether it's nothing or anything at all.
Back to your topic on waiting for families. All right, so
that's a hard one, man.
This is definitely a hard one here. We discussed this.
Yeah, it's a hard one, and oh man, like, especially if you have people who are those type of people that would like sit there and wait 2 weeks into electricity being off, still thinking everything's going to be okay.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of scenarios to think about, guys, but let's just go with an easy one here. You're in the city. Your family's in the city. They are non-preppers. They've been thinking for years that you are nuts. Okay, they are the mindset that no matter what, the government's coming through and will provide. All they have to do is sit and wait. You have already read the situation. You know this complete BS. No one's coming, and there's too much danger threats in your area, and you need to get out. Now, we had the conversation about how long would we wait with family members that refuse to leave? And this here comes down to a personal decision on people's behalves, okay? Because after all, they're your family, a spouse, a child, any situation, okay?
Yeah.
This is going to be a tough one for anybody. Like I said, it's a personal decision on your end. You can stay right there knowing that y'all are not going to survive. You're with family. You will eventually pass with these people. It might be a slow one. It might be a brutal, agonizing, extinction.
Let me ask you a question before you go too further, just so you can put it in there. How important is it for people to realize how dangerous the cities will be when shit hits the fan versus outside of the cities? Ranch lands, acres, the people out, because I think that's a large part too, is because the cities are going to be, they're going to look like places for help, and they will be, but they'll probably also be some of the most dangerous places, and probably as time goes by, some of the hardest places to get out of, wouldn't you say, or no?
Yeah, definitely some of the hardest places to get out of. We'll see gangs hook up right off the bat, especially when they realize that stuff are not coming back. All right, when power goes out, anything major, they're definitely, they've done it with rioting over political views, or the let's take LA riots for one. We'll take Ferguson riots. All this, people gang up quick. All right, they believe they have a cause, and they know that the world's not ending, but they still do it. Okay?
Right, the mob mentality.
Yeah, so if you got a full-blown thing, what do you think's going to happen? All right, now there will be a police presence there. There might be National Guard to help keep peace and order for a while, but you will see these retract back to a more secure stronghold area. I'm not saying they're going to mow down civilians. I'm just saying that they are going to opt themselves out, because after a longer period of time, they have families too. All right. Now, and we had talked about this. All right. If I'm in, let's just say that I was, which I wasn't. I was old Air Force. I was in the Air Force. All right. Let's say that I was a grunt and I was stationed somewhere to deal with all this stuff. and there is no chain of command anymore as far as what was in existence. Now, there will be groups and things like that that are still operation trying to do the right thing, but my family is 2 states away. And what I'm seeing here at this location, I know is going on in a different location where my family is. Am I going to stick around, or am I going to go try to take care of my wife and kids, or vice versa, husband, or, if you're a woman? So you see that situation there, what I'm trying to get at there. I'm not saying, and it ain't well, that's deserting. No, it's taking care of their family, because I know that it's everything's broke down. Now, when it comes down to mobs and stuff like that, I'm people live in the city. I get that. All right, I understand. We're on the outskirts of the city right here where we're at. I know that eventually, if something happened, they're going to move out to the outskirts in search of food, supplies. They're not just going to stay in the city. All right, so I look at the population, what's in the city. Luckily, we have a small group here for protection, but even that, we run through, let me phrase certain things. We run drills for certain situations, all right, but we know what we can and cannot handle. So we can handle up to a certain extreme, and then we have to then we have to make a decision. Can we read this situation enough in advance to move out? Because last minute is not going to give us Lisa, SHTF. I'm new. What does that stand for?
Hey, you know what? This is a great place to learn.
Jay Stone was all over it. Awesome. Thank you.
Very cool.
So yeah, it's just not. I know it's so easy to get it. Oh, it's fear porn. No, it's thinking all the way through. That's we think it all the way through. We look at the end games. We have to look at the hard stuff too. A lot of people get upset. Well, I don't want to. My anxiety's up. Well, I'm not trying to offset anybody's anxiety. I want you to plan through, because a real prepper looks at every angle. Now, it does not mean I am correct in what's going to happen with National Guard and police. It does not mean that at all.
No, these are all scenarios.
And I'm just presenting that scenario. That's it.
Right. There's various scenarios. I think it's great that you're bringing this to the attention to your channel and to your viewers, Prepper. Because it actually shows that not only are you doing it really, like with your food and your life and the way you live, but you're talking about preparations. I saw in the chat someone said that the roads would be closed down. And I'd like to point out, in Venezuela, if you watched what happened, the people got choked off in the city. A lot of people probably do have family members on the outskirts, but the government entities that be, or the people that were, saying no one's doing nothing, they choked them off. And we've talked about traffic control and the highway systems and the high walls, and I believe it was you said, those high walls were built for a reason right there, on the exit ramps, to get in, get out, and and of course we don't encourage anyone to just, like, any small situation to pick up everything down, be all like, tweaky about things, or kind of like, whatever. We're just saying it's good to be thoughtful and critically think about realistic issues. And honestly, the people who get the anxiety, the people who really kind of say, oh, fear porn this, fear porn that, in my opinion, because of how we have the awake and the unawake, and the, people are whatever, especially having family that are the most unawake people that will, like, trust Fox News, CNN, over any just, regular outside source media. I'm telling you, I think that's just part of the agenda. They want people not to be afraid, and sometimes being afraid is a good thing. I mean, we're supposed to be fearful of our Lord, right? Technically.
Yeah. On the roads there, you can look at, this is my own tinfoil hat moment on this one. When you look at the walls, especially around the city, when you ride around the city, all you see is huge walls outside the highways and freeways there. I mean, you're not getting out. You're there, or you are on that until the next exit ramp. Now, you talk about a perfect pinch point. If you need to shut down a road, if you need to control movement of people, you're on there. You can't get around. You can't get out. I just lost Snafu Snaps. Okay. I'm sure he'll come back. So yeah, this is a big issue here. Now, like I said, this is straight tenfold movement here. I don't believe it was set up for soil erosion and to control noise pollution. It could have been. It could be completely innocent like that. But I'm just saying, in a shit hits the fan scenario, it is a pinch point. It definitely would be great for cordoning off people. Snafu, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, brother.
Okay. Yeah, I lost you there for a second.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, I mean, honestly, it's serious. Traffic control. I used to work with traffic control for many years, and I mean, and we've talked about these WalMarts and the just the big facilities of holding people. And we saw what happened with the Superdome, this, that, and I'm telling you what, the traffic, because when shit does hit the fan, especially in cities or things like that, or this, that, it's just gonna, the first emotion is let's get out of Dodge, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and that alone is dangerous in itself, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right quick, I saw Lisa Crane. I saw in the conversation there, someone asked, I believe it was Lois, asked, have you started prepping? And Lisa Crane put up no, where to start. Lisa, the easiest way to start is think about, I've got other videos on there. Hopefully you can check them out. The easiest way, first thing, I always recommend everybody to get a water filtration system. The cheapest on the market, which is also very good, and which we use here at the house, is the Sawyer Minis, $20 at Walmart. Filters out a lot of water. Got to have a way to purify water. And then start with your canned goods and dry goods, your basic stuff you buy at the store. You don't have to run out and go buy, I'm affiliate now with Legacy, but you don't have to go buy a whole bunch of freeze-dried food. That's very expensive. When you're first starting, I always recommend go and get extra cans food, $5 here, $5 a week, whatever, and start building a rotational stock, something that you actually use and replace. Start there first. That's the best way to go. I know, if not, unless you are Fortune 500 Club, then go buy you a whole bunch of freeze-dried food. But if you're not, and you're like everybody else, you got to start small. So,
well, and most important too, that you've pointed out, actually, when I had you on my channel for an interview, is we talked about, there is a big difference between reading and knowledge and then actually putting it in effect. And I'm talking about your skills. Okay, he talked about filtration of water. But what if you didn't have, what if you were in a situation of just rubble everywhere? Okay, and you didn't have a filter or anything, or what, and there's things that you could learn and use your skills to learn how to do that are just simple pioneer old school things that have been used since World War I on or longer, I mean, back in the day, people get toothaches. They used to put cloves, like a full clove right there, to numb it up type stuff. Just like, just skills or just kind of knowledge of things. Because that's the thing, is it's now Google this, Google that, depend on this, depend on that. They don't want us to look and remember how to take care of ourselves, period. Like, in my opinion,
Yeah. Angel, I saw your comment here. I'm going to pop it up here. I'll clarify a little bit. So you're saying that those walls there are there to trap or control? Actually, because I was intrigued by what you're saying. Like I said, that is a tenfold moment. That is a theory that is floating around. And when it comes down to a military action, as far as
let me ask you.
Area, it could definitely be used as that. Now, do I think that maybe it was designed to begin with? No, I don't think it was designed as the cities to begin with. But I definitely see where they can use the application for crowd control, traffic control, as far as keeping people in or out of an area.
Let me ask you something, Central Florida Prepper, because I love how the people say tinfoil moment. But let me just ask you this, because let's use some facts that we've seen throughout. Even just a short time, our family and small creators have been talking. We've seen the forced vax optics in different states.
Yeah.
Okay. We've seen the checkpoints. Marfugo News reported on it with the UN, this, that, right? We've seen the stuff at the border, and then of course all this election stuff, this and that. I I don't think it's really that far fetched to believe that, because we already have to have documentation to enter just one state to another, right? Your driver's license, your paperwork, your insurance, right? So, when rights start to be implemented, like we see laws, the bills start changing to stuff like where normally we're like, oh, that's totally an atrocity to our rights, right? But now it's in law. Okay, now it's in law. And I think that's what I'm saying. I think I believe, because I've worked with traffic control for years, I believe a lot of those highway systems and those walls were built strategically on purpose for that reason. Chokeholds into main cities, into big industrialized cities versus getting out. Because if you have to cut something off on every major city, they just close the highway systems down. I mean, there's not many people who could, just drive, turn left or right or get, you know what I'm saying? Like, it would be very easy to stop people thinking they could get out to different areas.
Yeah. I still got you. I had a little feedback in my earpiece there.
Some of the people were asking about filtration of water. One of my, I know people have used sand and grass and all this other stuff. What is a way you could filter your water, my man, that you know of?
All right, actually, I got something on the wall. Give me a second. Let me go grab it. I actually did a video a while back.
Okay. So yeah, no, honestly, you guys, when you learn the skills, okay, of just think of it. Back in the day, the pioneers had to build their own houses. They had to make their own medicines. They had to make their own clothes. They had to keep their own warmth. They had to protect themselves. Okay, the government didn't charge them for any of this stuff and kind of give them half-assed stuff. They had to be one with nature, so to speak. And the day and age we live, we're so far out of touch with nature that these simple skills are a rarity. It really is beautiful to have people with this knowledge that can share it to people, because these are life-saving skills. Like something that he's talking about right now, what he's about to show us, or just knowing the fact of, hey, I better drink water that's filtered versus I better not. Because most of us know that you should boil water, drink, right? But you would be surprised how many people in this world would probably just start drinking away, or just they don't think, and to us it's kind of like, well, duh, but the truth is I really think that you talked about the woman with the cell phone, during the hurricane. And it was all over the news saying the phones are out, this is out, everyone knows, but she's still not believing it.
Yeah,
that's going to be the people
wasting fuel in that vehicle, because we didn't have any stations open at the time. That was during Irma, and wasting fuel driving around trying to find a Wi-Fi connection for a cell phone.
Right.
This is just a basic one. I've shown video before. This is a 2-liter bottle. This is not the correct size that you want for a filtration system. You want to fill the system. But basically the design is cotton or some type of fibrous material to help strain from, this is activated carbon. You can also use charcoal from a fire pit. Do not use charcoal for your charcoal grill in this, because it won't work. You have to use charcoal. You can actually get that from your fire pits from burning wood. And then you have another spacer. This here, I think, was cloth in this one. And then sand, just to filter out the debris. That activated carbon or charcoal will help purify the water to drink. And now this is not the correct size that you want. This is what when I was doing the demonstration on it, you actually want this thing full. That way you have plenty of filtration through it. I've seen much larger ones in 5 gallon.
Right. And I've also seen people use
one you can make. I do like the Sawyer Mini as far as the portability and the purification that quantity it can do. But now with the Sawyer Mini, I believe viruses it does not filter out. It will do bacteria and regular, but now when it gets into chemicals and viruses, you need a better system. Now, of course, that also falls into play on you as an individual, where you get your water. All right, like here in Florida, we got retention ponds everywhere, right beside the road, right there at the on ramps, off ramps. I would not drink that water even if I had the best purification system in the world, because everything has been washed into that. Everything from antifreeze, diesel fuel, everything has been in that water. So you would want to find a better system. Also, like here in Florida, the water table is real low to the ground. It does not take much to dig a hole to start getting better water. Now, you can't just dig a hole and start drinking directly from it, but you do have a level of purification the deeper you go to pull out water that you can filter out.
Here, here, here's something to think about too. We were talking about people who don't necessarily have the money or the capabilities, like cars or whatever it is, to fully prep, but we can still do things to help us. It's very important. I've seen the water filtration thing that you have there, used with the cloth or grass actually too, out in the field. But something to remind people of is, what about if you are stuck? If shit hits the fan, you do get stuck in a zone or something like that. And like I saw, remember the footage of like in Venezuela where there was only like one pipe of sewer water running out under the like bridge or something, and then the whole like all kinds of thousands of people were taking hamsters, or not hamsters, but the like the laundry buckets or whatever, to fill up with water to take home.
And then the water runoff off the roads through that pipe, and yeah,
off the pipes, because there was no more water, and that's the only place to get it, And so, but here's another thing: is you saw people coming up with the most craziest ways of getting that water from that location and then dragging it all the way to their home. And these are people living in a city. Okay, like these are people with buildings, and and that's what I'm saying. We got to think, and like how would you like store your water? Some of us aren't even thinking like simple stuff like that. Like, what if something major happened and we did have to get water, okay, and we were put in a position like them to where maybe I lived by a place where I knew water came out of a drainage pipe or whatever, and it's terrible, but that's what I have to do at that point in time. Mm-hmm. But how am I going to get that water from point A to point B, especially if cars aren't running or this or that? Am I going to make like a makeshift bucket with wheels? You're seeing the most ingenious types of things to be survival tools, so to speak, But then again, they're not ingenious because so many people are so out of touch with the world that, some people are bringing just like 10 of these, they're carrying 10 of these. All right. And that helps. But come on, if there's thousands of people going to that little source of water, when it's my turn to fill up water, I'm going to want something to carry enough water that's going to be okay for a while.
Yeah.
While it's available at that time. I want to be, I'm not going to just depend on that. I don't know. There's just so much stuff that you could think about scenarios.
Oh, yeah. And, I've talked about it before on this channel. I've done videos on it as far as finding water sources in your immediate location, actually walking and timing it out and see, where these sources of water are. If they're good sources of water, go ahead and map them out so you have these scenarios, because when power goes out, you have no water. All right, when they shut down, when power goes out entirely, there is no running water. It'll run for a little bit just off the pressure system that's in the lines, but eventually it goes out. So you have to have the ability to acquire water. And, I even went over how easy it was to go on just on Google Map and just zooming into your area. You'll find water, all right, but you need to go manually, actually go out there in person and take a look at the water. Like, we have a huge lake nearby, Lake Apopka. I'm new to the area. I'm thinking, okay, that's a good source of water. And the more I researched it, and I had a couple other people that live around the area, said, dude, that thing is so polluted with fertilizer from the other farms above it, you can't drink. I mean, it's still recovering. And yeah, that was one of those things that was first plotted out until I actually started looking into the pollution level of that Lake Apopka. You're not going to be drinking out of it. And if you do filter it, you're going to have a very good filter, because all the fertilizers and chemicals that are in the water. I saw something here right fast, but now talking back on the bugging out part, with family and stuff like that.
Right.
We had talked about, making plans. It really depends on how you read the situation. And we just discussed that you don't want to just grab all your stuff and bug out at every drop of the hat. That's kind of paranoid. And being aware is not being paranoid. You have to be able to track down and look at things and plan on things. And you talked about, well, some family members, how long do I stay with them if I am going to leave? All right. And that's really just depends on how you read that situation. If you're looking at a situation and you know that it's going to be bad, I mean, even 4 days waiting, and you already see the signs that things are bad. I mean, they've already declared martial law. It's not
Right.
it's not an isolated disaster. I'm talking a massive disaster. You need to move,
Well,
especially
let
if
me
you
give you.
have very limited resources.
We could give the scenario that me and you kind of talked about here, so they could kind of understand a little better what we were talking about. So I kind of was talking to Central Florida Prepper about family, because I'm very open. I say I got some of the most unawoke family, I have, but I would still wait for them. But then I was talking about, like, what if, like, the electricity went off and I'd wait maybe up to 4 or 5 days, 3 days, he's like, that's still a little too long. But here's a scenario you could think about. What about if the West Coast has a natural disaster like Cascadia or something like that to the thing, and then we have the mass migration of people headed to the states like Colorado, Utah, this or that, right? Now we have the emergency. I mean, they're preparing for this shit right now, Central, here in Arizona. I mean, everyone talks about, they're preparing for something going on.
Yeah.
And if you have a mass migration of people, kind of like what happened in Paris or other places, and so, like, especially a natural disaster source. And here's another thing to remember: if there's a huge disaster like that, a lot of the electricity grid that runs just other stuff, will be affected as well around the world, the country, not just the West Coast. Period. It could be Central, even, and it's like, if I knew that, like you said, okay, this is bad, and I'm in a state where it's just going to fill up, and it's just going to fill up, and these big cities like, probably Atlanta and Phoenix, and just these bigger cities, like especially whatever, if it happens like that, I just feel that you could so get trapped in it so hardcore. And I told Central Florida Prepper, I was like, well, man, if I knew that was going down, and I think that some of my family would sit there and say all day long, oh, it's cool, they're finding a place to be there. Yeah, it's kind of crazy right now, like, I think they try and ride the wave. And for me, I'm sitting here like, I need to get out of the damn city before they cut my capabilities of getting out of a city away. Because cities are not going to be pretty when shit hits the fan or things like that. And that's what I try to enforce on people. Like, and I understand not everyone can get out or leave or this, that. And I'm not trying to be fear pornish, but I'm just trying to be real. But also it's going to be bad because everyone's going to be coming out, trying to get out too, in my belief.
Yeah. I get what you're saying about the Cascadia, especially with the mass migration. Now, when it comes to the power there for the Western Coast, there's 3 major grids in America. Now, I don't know enough about the grid situation as far as if Cascadia happened, will it take out the entire grid that's associated for the western part? Okay, because there's a lot of states that are also on the same power grid for that area. Now, are they just, is that just a chute that branches off? If that disappears, is it going to shut everything else down, back up electricity? I don't know. I don't have the ins and outs of that electrical grid, so I really couldn't tell you on if everything else would go down. It's very possible that like that happens. I don't know what that noise was. It's very possible that something goes down like that. All those other states can be affected with electrical. Will there be a strain on the current electrical grid if it is up and running with mass migration? I don't really see that much as far as if everybody moved into, well, where you're at, and everyone starts, trying to use lights and stuff like that. I mean, the grid's there. People that would be mass migrating, they're not going to be bringing a home. I mean, the homes are there and stuff like that. Will there be tent cities and stuff? Yeah, I definitely think there'd be a massive amounts of tent city. most of those will be runoff generators and things like that. In that scenario, eventually there will be power routed to it.
And we've seen all kinds of generators being transported within the last.
A lot of electronic equipment being moved around.
Moved around. A lot of it.
I was just reading something there.
No, I think it's just, and like I said, some of these theories, I like to say theories or, thoughts, like I said, they can be kind of outlandish, but I just do think it's important, as you said, for people to just kind of think about this stuff. Because, I mean, here's another thing for you to think about, Central Florida Prepper, is if I had to wait for my family, and I chose 3 days, like that's 3 days behind of already, I could sit here all day long and say, yeah, I know, right? But if I choose to wait on my family or whatever, that's putting me behind. And that's a decision. That's a rough one. It really puts you in a rough way, sometimes.
Yep. Yeah, and the situation that we were discussing there for that timeline, that was a full-blown, I mean, we're talking riots, civil unrest, military action, right. Streets and everything. That was a full-blown scenario there. And again, guys, it comes down to what the situation is. The situation that we had been talking about was a full-blown event, and we knew that in the projected scenario, the individuals were dead in a very dense populated area. And the discussion was, if I'm there and I'm trying to get family out and they refuse to go, how long will I wait to get them out and be there with them before I know I've got to get out? And the days was like 4 days, and I was like, no, that's way too long, because now you are stuck in the city. It's been quartered off. They're dealing with everything. I'm talking mass riot type of scenario.
I'm talking like full blown. Yeah,
that's a full scenario. And just because a natural disaster happens, hurricane, something like that, you don't see the roads cordoned off and all that stuff, and everyone's quarantined in or anything like that. But now you're talking about, let's just say, for example, a superbug, something nasty out there that the city will be cornered off. If you start seeing the reports rolling in, when you start seeing stuff like that and it's an exotic that has not been around, and you start seeing body counts as far as hitting the news about this disease, CDC being real quiet, the WHO's being real quiet about it, get out. Don't stick around. Go on vacation, even if it's just for a few days. At least you are away from the scenario, because odds are something exotic is spinning like that, they're going to quarantine it off, and you're stuck in that quarantine. That's it. You're done. Is there a chance of surviving it? Yeah, as long as you're prepared. Now, there will be trucks and stuff like that bringing aid. FEMA will come in, try to help that out. But now if it breaks that barrier and spreads, you're going to have to keep on moving. You can't be around population. One of the biggest thing about viruses, close population, it spreads like wildfire. It does not stay. I mean, look at the flu or a cold. If you are having to get you're going to get it. I mean, I get it every year when I have to go around people and stuff like that. But I notice when I'm not around people, I don't get sick. When I'm around people, I will always catch whatever it is that's around. It's just people that wash their hands. And that's one of the biggest things. I've seen people sneeze and have snot dripping and do this and then wipe it off on something. And
that's the thing. You remember that song, Ring Around the Roses, Pocket Full of Posies, Ashes, Ashes, We All Fall Down?
Yeah, that was...
I mean, like I said, that's not... I mean, it is a children's song, but like it was off of the events of the diseases and the plague.
What disease that was. I thought it was smallpox. It might be a different one, but
I thought it was the Black Plague or polio or something like that. But the fact is these diseases, and we see a lot of the optics with measles coming back, and this and that, and and then of course, like I talked about, the forced new bills being put in legislation, and I could totally see whether it's like a crazy event of sort or a natural disaster sort, disease type optics seem to be kind of ramping up, and no, I think it's good to kind of think about that and realize, like, dang, like that's real. There was a time where, everyone was getting sick, and you had to be cautious where you went around.
Hmm. Yeah, I saw Bones just popped up something there asking, show of hands, how many of y'all have bug out bags? That's actually a very good question. If you have a bug out bag, put in one. Um, if you have a destination already pre-planned with usage, and two, because that's really the major question on top of just a bug out bag. Do you have a route already planned out? Do you have a area that you know that you are able to go to? And there's also a lot of things, it's been talked about many times through many other channels where
I'm gonna refill my coffee, buddy. I'll be right back.
where other people said, well, I've got a bug out bag, so I'm just going to bug out to the woods. I'm just going to take off. That is the worst thing you could ever do. You need to have a plan for everything. As you know, we can't plan for everything, but you need to try to plan for as much as possible. Just grabbing a bag and taking off. You might be driving, if you're lucky to have a vehicle that's running, you might be driving into a worse situation than you are actually leaving from. Okay, so you need to look at multiple angles on this, and that's why we run through scenarios. We run through scenarios with my group here at the house. That way we could try to work on preparation for if this happens, what would we do? Well, what are we going to do if we run into that situation while evacuating? So it's something that everyone should be working with when you are working with other groups, and also something to be thinking about if you are the lone wolf prepper. Okay, I mean, yeah, I get the whole gray man scenario that people talk about. Um, I'm not going to get into that one, but even by yourself, you need to make plans. You can't just be wishy-washy and hope for the best. Now, some people go through life like that now. Society's set up to protect just about as much as possible with everybody, with every stupid thing they've done. When society's not there with those protections, those laws, those things that are safeguarding life and liberty, it's a different beast. All right? You go out to the woods. I've been in bear country. There ain't no one else out there. You have to watch everything you're doing. So there's a lot of situations to think through. Just grabbing it back and running out is not always a good idea. Nano size, nanometers, it works. You must be talking about a water filter. Yeah, there's definitely better water filters than the Sawyer Mini, but at $20, it does a lot. I did see something about a life straw. We carry life straws in our bug out bags. That's going to be used for bartering material. The only thing I didn't like about life straw was that it only filtered out 200 gallons of water compared to almost the same price. Sawyer Mini's claiming 100,000 gallons. So that's why we go with the Sawyer Minis. But life straw works. It's the same filtration system, but they say that it only is good for 200 gallons. That's why we don't use the life straw. I'm not saying you can't use life straw. I'm just saying what we use here. That's the only thing I'm saying. The big Berkeys are very nice. I do not own a big Berkey. Our group, we have a couple in our groups here. They are very expensive, and it's going to be kind of hard if you have to bug out on foot or bike or whatever it is that you have if a vehicle is not running correctly or not running at all. It's going to be kind of hard to travel with a big Berkey. Just saying. CFP, can you make plans to do the same thing with Rip Curl? I missed something here. Make the same plans. Are you talking about a live stream, Lois?
I believe so, because Rip Curl said he wanted to call in earlier on chat. Like I said, this is a great subject. I'm glad they want to talk about it. That was the point of us getting on here, kind of starting this conversation up.
Oh yeah, we can definitely have Rip Curl on. I don't really do the phone calls because I don't have a burner phone, so I really don't give up my main number. Right. So we can definitely set up some type of stream.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, let me ask you a question, Central Florida Prepper. In your opinion, okay, the essentials are very, like, I mean, in reality, you're gonna go homesteading, and you're really gonna live the life of just kind of being on your own, doing your thing, this and that. Mm. And I'm glad you mentioned it. A lot of people think that they could run to the woods. A lot of people think that they could live off the land. Okay, a lot of people think they got this. And in your opinion, how much people do you think will, in reality, including, I'm going to say even myself, I've heard that the majority of people will end up wanting to end up in FEMA camps or be helped, versus, you know, doing it on your own, because most people aren't capable of doing it on their own. You know, and I mean, what are the biggest skills you believe someone needs to learn to just kind of, you know, like, of course, warmth, shelter, food. Like, what are just the basics? Like, if you were to caveman it and say, look, millennials or everyone out there, this is what the skills you need to learn again are. You know, like, we're back from grade school, back to, like, what do you believe it is important for the, because I believe the mass, and this is just me being real about shit. Look, we got people still missing from the FEMA camp barges out in Texas or whatever. Okay, they got on those FEMA ships or whatever, and they're still, we don't know, Americans. Okay, where'd they go? Okay, because when you end up in a FEMA camp or you end up in something like that, you're just like you're in a prison system. Okay, you're locked up, you're controlled, you're this and that. And like I said, a lot of people need the help, a lot of people won't. It's your choice. But like, I just want, in your opinion, what are the necessities that people need to learn nowadays? Because you know just as well as me, a lot of people are dumbed down and farther away from nature, as I said. So yeah. What is the, like, if you were to do a caveman list, what would your caveman list be?
Well, I think all preppers should eventually, probably priority action, not eventually, learn your basic bushcrafting skills. Now, I would not, unless you're proficient in it and always do it all the time, I would not just rely on, so I saw a video on bushcraft and that means I'm good to go, because unless you run a bow drill, you'll find out that bow drills work, but it's a lot of work. You have to figure in a lot of things, all right? Like here in Florida, the humidity is really high. We do get rain. The humidity plays a huge part of operating a bow drill on its effectiveness. But now for the bone, what do you say, bone dried, bone bit, for the caveman scenario.
Yeah.
Everybody should.
Caveman, old school. Because no, like I said, this is great stuff. You, just like you said, humidity. People don't even think of small things that can affect your survival skills.
Yeah.
You know, so no, that's really.
So, sorry, I was hearing noises. I guess someone across the street's out and about. My first one would be fire. Having the ability to create fire, because it goes into place with elements. If you are exposed to the elements, you're not going to make it. I mean, you cut your expectancy really low. Being able to filter out water, like I showed the little cheap filter, you can make that with stuff outdoors. As long as you got a fire going, you can make charcoal. Charcoal is what's going to be your major component in your water filtration system. Another one is building shelter to help get out of the elements. All right, and it's not hard to make. I'm trying to think the names of them. A-frames.
Yeah, the little A-frame shelters.
I keep wanting to say brush pile. That's not debris shelters. It's not hard. It's just to create a environment, a protection from the elements. And you know, of course, you got to be smart not to bring a fire in a debris shelter. You're going to catch that thing on fire unless it's big enough. So that would be my first bit. Then I would say hunting, but actually more scavenging as far as wildlife. Wildlife goes into hunting, but you can make fish are a lot easier to get hold of than it is a deer, especially when you don't have anything. Plant life is your next thing. There's a lot of starch and stuff and carbs in plant life if you know what you're looking for. You can go online now, since we got internet. You can look for edible wildlife in your area, stuff like that. There's actually videos, there's photos you can actually look at and then go out and identify what they are. You got
to be very careful doing that. I know Chris McCandless. I don't know if you remember his story. Yeah. Chris McCandless.
Well, he went out there with a book, and he didn't bother reading the book before he actually got in a situation where he was starving to death. So
right.
Identified. And
well, he did read the book. He just mistaken the picture is what happened, you know. And the dude was like living for before up until that, so he was doing all right until then. But no, like I mean, no, he's absolutely right. Edibles. These are like caveman skills that we should just like kind of ingrain. We most of them are ingrained in us. Of course, we know fire, this and that. But do you know like how to make fire? Now, here's another thing I think that is with other countries that I see, like in like whether it's the slums or whether it's war torn areas or just bad parts. I see, as you said, scavenging, and I think that in America, if that becomes a thing, like it'll be kind of like Walking Dead type stuff, in my opinion, as far as the buildings, everyone's going to scavenge everything they can at first. Like if the electricity's out, how many days do you think it'll take till people really start freaking out?
Again, that's going to be the situation if it's a full-blown thing. For the majority of people, how much is the population in America? 300 some million right now. Most of these are city urban life. Most people, the studies I've read, most people keep anywhere from 3 days to a week of food in their cabinets. Using those studies, all right, using those statistics, a week to a week and a half is going to be bad. And that's when people are really when it's a full thing. I'm not talking about an isolated event. I'm talking about a full event. All right, the whole country. I'd give it a week to a week and a half before it's just gone nuts.
Right.
People are doing things that they would have not normally done. The thing is, when you're hungry and you got a family, you're willing to do anything to take care of your family. And I'm not saying all people's morals would go out the window. There's a lot of people that hold their morals that they're not going to break them. But there are a large majority of people that only care about themselves, the entitlement issue. And if they think, they don't even have proof, if they even think that you have something they could use, you're going to have the masses coming to you. Give me a second. I need to use the restroom one more time. I saw that Bones and Rip Curl had said something about doing a cross stream with them also. If you're good with that, you guys can email me so I can get the links to you and I could bring you in on this conversation. I do need to use the restroom though. I'll be right back.
Sure. No, I mean, that was the biggest thing that Central Florida Prepper and I wanted to do, is we wanted to discuss these almost sometimes outlandish theories of what could. Okay, because when you start doing the what could, people start thinking a little more. They start kind of thinking, wow, and they start putting together a plan of sorts. And the biggest plan that I think a lot of us can get out is to just be realistic. Okay? To be realistic. And we don't necessarily know how everything could go down or this go down or that, but we could know from other countries and other instances. And again, it wouldn't take much for the United States to change. Okay, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be a big event. It could be the collapse of the dollar. It could be so many things, you guys. It really could. And it would be life-changing type stuff. And the skills that we need to learn are just basic skills to survive. And I think when you see these movies like The Walking Dead or The Day After, all this other stuff, and we see the subliminal messaging in them, I mean, that stuff is there for a reason, you guys. I mean, you could say, oh, don't fear porn me this, don't fear porn me that. And I'll tell you what, guys, to me, none of this is fear porn. When I see what I see going on in the world, when I see the lies and deception and the corruption with our mainstream media and just so many other aspects of what I see going down, it is not outlandish one bit for me to have all these different crazy scenarios going through my head, and it shouldn't be crazy for you guys. And I think Central Florida Prepper is right. Is like we just got to get back to the basics as far as truly not fully trusting, but acting as well as learning and stuff. What you got your coffee, my man?
Yeah, I just brought the pot out with me.
Nice.
I'm
gonna have to have one of those cups of Central Florida Prepper coffee one day.
I did look at the I forgot the name of the company now. Back when I first started, I was looking at like little promotional items and stuff like that. And when I was looking at the coffee mugs and stuff, I'm like, I wouldn't mind having one just for me. Just to have
nice
on it. I just
nice.
There are some things I do sell on the show and stuff. I try not to push too hard on it.
Yeah.
If it's there, it's there. I mean, once it's there, it is. But
I just want to say thanks again for bringing this topic up, man. We're getting all kinds of excellent people in the chat, talking and stuff.
I'm trying.
And like I said, it's real though. Like, how many people do you think are going to be totally blown off their asses and really okay, people get hurt over people talking crap about people on the internet, all right, or just their feelings get hurt. We see these college kids getting completely triggered over the craziest of stuff. Okay, we see but people who've been in know what mob mentality is, what gang mentality is, what all this bad stuff. I mean, the cartels, for instance. People are to this day getting killed, dismembered, trafficked. Same with the ritualistic child stuff. All this crazy stuff in the world, Central Florida Prepper. And I think someone like you has the understanding, and I hope a lot of people out there, that this can get so damn ugly, people. Because when I say Americans love to eat, Americans love our electronics, and we're all Hollywooded up. All right, I don't like. You seen the movie Purge? Yep. You ever seen that? You seen where they're bumping rap music and they're all like with painted and Halloweened up and the gun. I mean that could be real type stuff, but it could be even worse. Like you said, the gang riots back then. But I don't think it's going to happen like that, because I think that martial law of sorts will be implemented. I think you'll see I think what we'll see if something happens is like a forced curfew or something at first. Like a soft core that turns more into a hardcore type thing. But maybe I'm wrong. I mean, what is your thought on the implementations, whether it's a natural disaster, whether it's a real disaster? But I mean, with Venezuela, we saw what happened. They choked off the roads. They denied food or any of the health and all that to come in. You saw the other. And here's another thing to think about. If something crazy does happen, whether it's a natural disaster or not, we are vulnerable to other countries at that point too for attack.
Yeah, actually, I had a novel back in 2006, American Retaliation. That was my first and only one ever self-published. And yeah, it was basically stuff went down, and foreign military came on American soil. It was not well accepted. I only had like 3,000 copies ever sell. But that's been a while back. Now, as far as curfews and stuff, we see curfews in natural disaster events. That's not even martial law. Just the last hurricane that came through, Dorian, I think it's Dorian. It just skirted the coastline, didn't actually make landfall or anything. There was already curfews being placed already by local law enforcement. There wasn't even martial law yet.
We see them all the time already.
Yeah. So those do happen anyway.
But I'm talking, you know what I'm talking about, because we see the I believe a lot of this is desensitization. I mean, you see the Fringe Files, and you and others have covered the vax subject. Mm-hmm. And a lot of you guys, I give you guys respect for doing that, and others out there. Because, I mean, we talked about it, like the RFD chips and this and that, and, do you carry enough paperwork on you to say, okay, right now, the law says in certain states here in America that children can't be out in the public unless they have been, taken care of in that form manner. And right now, no one's enforcing that. There ain't no cops going out there and checking all the kids' paperwork, in the streets or at the parks or, walking whatever. But that could change in an instant. As you said, if something crazy happened or a pandemic happened, and then that could become like part of like, oh, you can't travel from Arizona to Utah or Colorado to this place, without going through certain checkpoints, just as they already have DUI checkpoints. But now they're like, well, our state says you have to have this in order to have that, to come through. And I don't know, these New World Order optics that I see, do you see them as well, Central Florida Prepper?
Yeah, especially with the injection cards. That could definitely come to play if they ever keep pushing those mandatory stuff, in which I definitely foresee them doing it. A lot of people, and I've discussed it in the past, where I understand where parents are kind of in a middle of a situation where they have to have their children done it. And I'm not here to tell a parent what to do with their child as far as that's concerned, because
right,
that's their rights. That's their decision. But
exactly.
I see where, I ran into that when I was out in Oregon. I couldn't take my son to daycare. I was a single parent raising my two sons. I got custody of both my children, and I worked a lot of hours as a welder. So I had to take them to, at the time, we were going through a custody hearing, and I had to make sure my babysitter was state certified, and to have my children in that daycare while I was at work, they had to have their V cards updated. So I was stuck in a situation where, yes, I don't like the V injections. I don't believe in them. I think they're poisoning people. I think, they're doing all kind of crazy testing with it. But I was in a situation where if I don't, I have no way of supporting my family. I have no way of getting my children into school, which is required by law unless I am homeschooling. But if you're a single parent working 12 to 14 hours a day, kind of hard to do daycare.
And wait until it gets criminal.
Yeah.
Right now it's your livelihood as far as a job and stuff like that goes, right? Well, what if it starts to become criminal? Okay, which technically it is already in certain states. If they're out in public without, their shots or whatever. But here's the thing that I gotta say is, when people, like, why do you think that people really don't understand the severity, of hardships that are ahead? Like, do you believe in, like, let me ask you this, as a prepper yourself, okay, obviously something in your brain has clicked throughout your life that you want to take care of you and yours. What is the biggest thing that made you start living that way? Okay, and what is the biggest fear that you see? Like, it's not even a fear, reality. Like, do you think people just do not understand how bad this could get? Or, like, because, I think you get it. I think you get it. A lot of this stuff is desensitized, but it's already going on in the world right now. If you look at these war-torn countries, if you look at these third world countries or countries that just have a civil breakdown, okay, they still have a police system. They still have, departments. A lot of it's corrupt, okay, but heck, in China, some guy could flip off a guy or whatever on a little moped, and next you know, he's getting lynch mobbed, hung, killed, beat, stoned, whatever, and the cops are there, right? But they're just watching it. Heck, some of them may be taping it, They're not going to get involved. They don't want to get killed by the thousands of people involved, It's just, you see the optics of these other world countries and the atrocities that happen. And really, I don't like to push the negative like that out there too much, but lately I think it's okay to start if they're going to try and desensitize us on other stuff, I think it's okay for preppers like you and myself to desensitize each other on, like, the reality of severity of things. Yeah. Frostbite is real. Like, freaking hunger is real. Like, and I just think too many people are reliant on our government entities or reliant on others, even others per se.
Yeah. Well, to go back to some of your questions you were asking me there, do I think that people are going to be aware, or are they going to be ready for, or have they experienced any downfall scenario, actual real emergency stuff like that? No, I don't. Now, previous generations that are still alive, yes. My generation, yeah. The newer generation, no. Society's set up to protect every individual and sue the crap out of anybody that didn't put a warning label and tell somebody, don't you put that Tide Pod in your mouth. Okay, now that's just stupidity. But everyone's being protected. Okay, now I just saw an article, a news report on a woman going. I think she actually was convicted and went to prison for bullying her boyfriend, and he committed suicide. Okay, now they got her for, I think, manslaughter. I could be wrong because I didn't finish watching what else happened. I know she was being charged with it. I think she just
That's
charged with
crazy.
it right now. Okay, so she's texting. They're at it. She's saying, "Go kill yourself. I don't want to. You're trash. All this stuff." And he does. And now they're pursuing legal actions. Okay,
That's crazy.
nobody put their hands on him and forced him to do it. Now this.
Nobody
Now,
did.
is it right to tell people that? No, it's not. That's just being mean.
Nope.
But the fact is, you can't. I don't see how in the world you can get somebody for manslaughter for that. For it's wrong. Yes, it's wrong. But I don't see the severity of what they're trying to charge us.
Well, it's like New World Order optics. They want to lock you up at any say of the dime. I mean, like look what's happening with in Canada. We see it, the religious symbolism, bans and things like that, and that's all religion, like a necklace or something. But I mean, there's people out there I have personally talked to have been fined or in trouble because they would not refer to like a transgender or something like that as a man or a woman, that like a guy who looked like a woman wanted to be called a woman. And in Canada, if you don't call them what they want to be called, you could get fined for it now. And people have been pushing that and getting fined and imprisoned for their own opinion. Like it's become a thought police type, system. And
Well,
it's just we see the craziest of things happening in the system of the law. It's unbelievable. It truly is.
yeah, it's definitely coming to be an infringement on our rights to speak. Now I get first they started bringing in the criminal of hate speech. All right, now that broke into our freedoms and the freedom to speak, and now they started with the hate speech first. That way they can get their hold on what you're allowed to say without repercussions. Then it's going to be bullying. Well, you bully the person, so now that's going to fall underneath hate speech, and now you're going to be charged. You're going to be convicted on something.
Right.
Just like is in New York, I believe they have where you cannot say in a derogatory term that you are an illegal immigrant or illegal alien without being fined. All right, stating a fact is not. This is going to get twisted around. Now there might be somebody. Well, you shouldn't be saying that to people. It hurts people's feelings. Okay. Now, this all goes into society. Even when I was a younger kid. Okay, when I was in grade school and stuff, when we had a problem with somebody, we took it outside, right outside the schoolyard, and we beat the snot out of each other. Guess what? Either we got over it, or next Friday we did the same thing. If you had a bully, and believe me, I had a couple bullies in school. All right, I didn't let them bully me. All right, I busted one in the nose. Did I get my butt kicked? Yes, I did, because bullies don't travel alone. Did they mess with me again? No. Okay. Well, I don't want my child to have to go through that. Then, all right, well, that's fine. I understand trying to protect your children, but you also need to have your children stand up for themselves. Eventually, they are going to be adults. And always having somebody bail them out and protect them is not beneficial for them. Of course, everyone's going to be.
Well, yeah, it's the indoctrination. It's the indoctrination of being soft. Like I mean, really, like not defending each other for ourselves, depending on this, that. Like, I mean, in so many ways. All right, and there's a few people in the political world I do respect for standing up for this, but hate speech no matter what you want to say, why is speech free? Okay, there is no such. There is a thing called hate speech, and it exists, and it's wrong. Okay, but it's still speech. Why did our founding fathers give us freedom of speech, right? And say even hate speech is legal.
Was giving us
the reason they did that is because you can't kill someone with speech.
Yeah.
You can't physically harm. You could say the most foulest, hateful things in the world in a hate speech sense. But physically, it does not hurt them by you. Now, our government now is changing the story, as you said, with that court case and everything. But it is sad because, I'm not defending hate speech, but I'm always the one that says even hate speech is free speech. The more we get to this snowflaked, thin-skinned, I get butthurt attitude over the dumbest stuff, Central Florida Prepper, the more dangerous this shows our society to be in, just on a mental status, if we had a social collapse of sorts.
Yeah.
It's astonishing.
Yeah. Yeah, society is definitely going downhill on that. I mean, freedom of speech was first introduced so that we could actually speak out against tyranny without censorship or the threat of people going against what we're saying, because all that stuff was installed to keep government in check. All of our freedoms were there to keep our government in check. Now, the government has stepped over. Before, the government feared the people. Now it's the other way around, and that's the way they like it. They like to keep control over everything. That's why they're manipulating the laws. That's why they're manipulating our freedom. That's why they're constantly changing and redoing amendments. Now people say, well, it's because today's time's different. You don't need to have this or that. The AR-15 wasn't around during the Revolutionary War. No, but also we had an industrial age where we're inventing new things. Those arms and things were designed to keep the government from oppressing, keep tyranny from ruling. They are supposed to do what we vote them to do. They are supposed to pass laws that we vote on.
For the people.
Most of these laws that are being passed, we have no say in. Most of these laws that they are attaching, just like the new Patriot Act law, the revision on that was into a budget bill. All right, they didn't catch it till later. They do shady stuff.
They try and be ninja-like about it.
Now, they used to be held accountable. Now they can't, because they have establishments in order to keep us from reacting. If you do, then you're labeled a DT, a domestic T, and they will be banging and knocking down your door and get rid of the troublemaker. They will not allow this. Now, I am not going to, the reason I have to be careful with what I say, because we know this platform. All right, we know who runs this platform.
Yep.
And we know the ties to that. So when it comes down to when people get together and finally make the decision to put a stop to all this, it's going to be too late.
Let me ask you this,
it's going to take a massive reset to get things back in order. And that's where they're going to rely on their groups, their fractioned or splintered celled military groups that's handpicked by them. These are not the people. These are not our brothers and sisters that are in the service trying to provide for their family. These are going to be the hardcores that are, I'll do exactly what you say. I don't care. Those are the ones that we're going to be up against. It's not going to be everybody else. Oh, sorry, I was reading something there. I saw WV was stepping out. She's got a live stream at 10. It's not going to be, and a lot of people get upset. Well, you know what? The military is going to do this. I don't believe that our military is going to do things. There's going to be there's going to be a huge.
Dude, if our military, you and I talked about this. If our military really got involved, if our military even totally got involved, there is no defending or whatever. You see these helicopters that sit 3 miles away and take down these bad guys, but it really comes down to the civil unrest and the people who are prepped and aren't prepped, and your location, really, right? The safety of your well-being, your location. So fire was a big one. What are the other big things you think that we need to really start paying attention to? Like, because shit's about to go down, man. Like, what? Fire, shelter, location.
Fire, shelter, water purification, um, ability to acquire food. Mainly, the easiest thing in the woods to collect food is plant life. The next would be fish, okay, because fish are, let's face it, dumb. All right, fish are they're easy to capture. All right, you can even catch them by hand if you know how to do it correctly. They are a lot easier to
Some noodling,
water.
right?
Well, yeah, when you're trying to hunt and gather, as far as gathering plant life stuff like that, it is nibbling, and it's very hard. It's hard to make a good calorie diet off of plants all the time. All right, now do you need hunting skills? Yes, of course. Now I can tell you from experience as being a hunter, I've seen seasons where there's hardly anything out there. Okay, so the misconception that I can run to the woods and go hunting will work good for a little while, but after a few weeks, it's going to be hunted out. It's going to be down to where what you can provide for yourself. A lot of people talk about the old TV show Little House on the Prairie. A lot of people get upset with it because there was so much Christianity indoctrinated in it. Well, I'm a Christian, I don't care. But the way that they're living, the pioneer days, that will result in a EMP strike. If there's a collapse, that will turn into that, and
it'll be like you have to be like a ranch or ranchers, and just spread out. People living off the land again.
Do I raise chicken or rabbits? Currently, I do not. I have had chickens and rabbits in the past. Right now, I'm currently in a pop.
I think another skill you need to really learn or kind of look into is preparation of food, storage of food. Like, like people learned how to dig the dirt and put their food, in a lower degree temperature. Just simple stuff.
We're going to be building our own root cellar when we get out to Wyoming.
Right. And it's just, or preparing meat, how to gut a fish, simple. How to, gut a deer. Or,
I wanted to work on that one, but also know with the censorship, certain things you're going to get dinged hard if not have the video pulled down, especially when you get into that. There are so many animal activist groups that are trolling and patrolling YouTube with that. When you actually do those type of things, you will get nailed pretty good. So yeah, I've been pretty much staying away now. I will direct people to that information, especially books and other videos that are already out there. But for the new creator, some content you just cannot put out. It's just, if you wanted to excel with your channel, and I've seen it on other channels where people say, well, forget about the censorship, just tell the truth. Well, the thing is, when you're trying to build a channel, you have to play by their game or you will not be put in. Yeah, you'll make the video, but the video won't go nowhere. All right, that's the issue that people don't understand. When you get
you made a very important key thing you said, and you talked about your nutrition, and having to figure out, what's good for your body, nutritious. And I just gotta say is, you see all these countries where these people are nutrition deficient, and I'm telling you what, it makes me wonder because of how well us Americans, are carved up, fat, diabetic, this, that, whatever. We already have all kinds of diseases and autoimmune issues, this and that, and blah, 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 blah. It makes me wonder that if there was ever a position in the world to where our food sources were down, okay, and we people are surviving like other countries have already been doing, okay, but we're experiencing the issue. Okay, aside from shit hitting the fan, aside from dealing with whatever military complex stuff is going on or not, or civil unrest or not, I'm kind of curious about the nutrition value and the type of diseases that will start ramping up even more because of how bad our bodies already are. versus going to like completely like, you know, Venezuela type optics or Brazil optics, or, you know, if that ever happened on a food type shortage or basis. And we see these farmers coming out telling us that they can't harvest next year or the year before. You know, they're telling us like our stuff is messed up right now, you know?
Yeah. I did see JT said stock vitamins. Absolutely, JT. And by the way, good to see you. I saw you come in. I just didn't get to say that. There's another thing I just saw on the news recently. One was the lettuce. The was it E. coli? I think it was E. coli. Anyway, the lettuce was like 13 states. It was bad. People were there like 76 people had contracted E. coli. And also, I had a feed come through and read the report on American pork. There is a huge thing, and they're trying to find out exactly what's going on with it. But there is a lot of pork that is carrying a superbug that is immune to antibiotics, and that's the result of feeding. There's a lot of results for that. I think it was pre-planned, but you know, the tinfoil hat moment. But the conspiratorial part. But you look at
the zombie deer.
they were, yeah, they were trying to prevent diseases by giving overabundance of antibiotics to the animals at the time instead of treating them when they were sick. All right, they were trying to prevent, and now their immune system stuff is built up to it, and the bugs, the diseases stuff adapted to it. So we're going to see that a lot in our food supply. And the problem is that is what's going to really cause a SHTF scenario if it runs rampant and cannot be corrected. These impossible burgers, these fake meat projects they've been working on, lab meat, they've been working on that for a long time. And the reason why is not to fend off hunger and it's better for you, like they try to claim. If you actually start researching stuff, there's actually a lot of stuff lacking out of these materials, but they can add anything they want to. You know, what you ingest will also affect your cells, will also affect your DNAs. So all they have to do is manipulate a little bit more, and they're feeding you whatever, and your body will evolve to what you're intaking. So that is a further plan of. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's just part of the plan. I mean, I remember talking to a buddy of mine just about diet, you know, and he's a real, he made a very good point, and, you know, he was talking about milk from cows. And he was saying, you know, he's like, back in the day, and I have to look at this, but I believe him. He's a pretty good source and good buddy of mine that's trustworthy. And he was saying that, you know, if they were doing studies on, you know how they always say milk does the body good?
Yeah.
Okay, well, they were doing a study on like osteoporosis or, you know, bone issues. And they found out that a lot of the states that had a lot of milk intake were the ones the highest with the bone problems, you know, and it just was one of those oddities, whether it meant something or not, you know, just, but it's like, I believe that disease, autoimmune issues, I mean, you never heard of people with the kind of, including myself dealing with what I got to deal with, is you never heard of people dealing with the kind of stuff that's going on now in today's age. And I'm telling you, a lot of people forget about when shit hits the fan type situations. A lot of times it's not even the civil unrest or the police or this or that. You know, a lot of it could be simply the disease or the outbreaks of sorts, you know? And I mean, what did they call Hurricane Katrina? The toxic soup ball?
Yeah, I believe that if they're affect and control the food, in which we know the government does control the food, that's why they have incentives and stuff for ranches and farms, which also helps ranchers and farms out, especially with finances for buying crop seeds and stuff. But we have seen, and I've been over reports before, and I've actually talked about this in the past. We have a lot of people here on our channel that are farmers and ranchers out there in the Midwest. And they have sent me so much information about their crops are not being reported correctly. There is going to be a very big shortage on our next year production of food. And we're not feeling it right now, but we're going to start seeing some major changes by the first of the year.
Agreed.
I'm not sitting there telling anybody, well, you got to sell this, you got to buy. No, it's just common sense. There's always a need to prepare.
Always.
Having supplies, having a way to grow your own garden. All right, there's you can do this. It's not the hardest thing in the world to grow a garden. Now, are you going to be able to get it first out of the bat? Well, yeah, you got a green thumb. It does take work, and people need to work on, even a small garden in your backyard, something small that you can get your hands dirty with and start learning on, and then you build from there. That way, you have some type of idea. It doesn't mean you have to be a professional farmer to make it, but you've got to start somewhere and start learning how to do it. Because when the food crop starts coming up short, your preps will only go so far. You have to be able to way to grow food. You have to be able to have a way to hunt, fish. You have to be able to way to get that food coming in.
Big skills too about growing.
I don't like rice milk.
Big skills. I remember we were talking to like another guy who likes to do these kind of theoretical, crazy scenario type talks, but just it gets everyone's brain start thinking and they start talking and, start, thinking about realistic stuff, whether it's out, whatever. And one of the subjects that we talked about that you brought up was the fact of like, it's going to be to the point of where we got to prep, we got to know what's going on, but it's the skills. It truly is now, I think, a lot of the skills, and it's doing them.
Yeah.
And that's really key. That's really key in the day and age we're in, because so many people don't. Their skills are there is none. I mean, and you said you can't even show people how to gut a deer, okay, without the animal activists come at you, right? Okay. How did we live? How did we dress? How did we eat? How did we clothe ourselves? How do we, from the time of they are taking our essence of
self-reliability away from everybody.
Yeah, they're taking
you can go to the grocery store to get your groceries. Yes, you can right now. What happens when you can't? You've never processed an animal on your own, and now you're faced to where you have to go hunt. Well, there's no grocery store. Now you have no skills on it. I've talked about in the past that YouTube is a really good source of information, but you can't just read a book and watch a video and expect that you know how to do everything. Now you have the knowledge up here, but actual practicality is differently. Now, I'm not saying you can't do it by watching a video, but to make it much easier on you is to actually start practicing these methods, start practicing these skills, because there's a big change from just reading a book and go, oh yeah, I know how to do this because I read this book such and such. Back when I first started, I had people constantly, well, Dan Canterbury said this and Dan Canterbury said that. That's good. What I talk about is what I have experienced, what I know what works for me, okay? What I have experienced and actually used to make something happen. That's what I'm going off of. I'm not just going, well, Dan Canterbury, or whoever, I think it's Dan Canterbury, said this, or this survival guy, Bear Grylls, says this. Well, that's good. It's probably really good information. I'm not down in that at all. But have you actually put your hand on something, and have you tried to do it yourself? Because when it comes to a survival situation, all right, if you are in a downpour and you've been walking in that thing for 2 days and it's just raining like crazy, let's just say that you are still alive, all right? The temperatures are good. Do you know how to make a shelter? Do you know how to dry out tinder using your body heat enough to get that thing to fire up? Well, right. I book on it. It sounds like a good idea, but you know what? There is just something missing. It's just not working. Or it might actually work, but the conditions take longer for it to work. And patience, everything takes into play. So I always tell people, take your bug out bag, your gear. When you go camping, try it out while you're camping. All right, you can still have your nice tent and all that good stuff. You can have your Coleman stove, all that good stuff. Absolutely, enjoy your camping trip. But take that other gear with you and test it. Make sure it works. Make sure that you know how to work it. Make sure that it will stand up to being used multiple times. So yeah.
Let me ask you a question. What are your thoughts on communication going down? Okay, because people who are homesteaders, people like you and me, okay, because we talked about this. Okay, I'm a YouTuber. I do stuff like this all the time. But if this thing went down tomorrow, I'd be okay. All right. Yeah. I'd be okay. I ain't gonna flip flip out or whatever. But I know so many people out there in the world that couldn't handle, like for instance, when YouTube went down or Twitter went down, the thousands and thousands of people that freaked out.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm talking about phone calls. I'm talking about a grid outage of sorts. Okay. Communication. In the modern age we live in, okay, because I think 5G is being set up for a reason, Central Florida Prepper. I think 5G has multi-purposes. It's military-grade internet for a reason. I think they're basically gridding up the states because they know that they're going to be more active within the states. It's their equipment. They're just like, shit's about to go down. My question to you is, as far as communication being cut off, someone like you, someone like me could handle. What is your thoughts on the American reaction? Like how many days and like what you could see happening both in the cities or on the outskirts? And I mean, even with you, like say you had an outpost or you were living off the grid, people were like searching the forest or like walking around or whatever. Right? Are people going to start shooting? Right? Some will. Or are people going to like kind of talk? Like it's like the whole Walking Dead scenario, but with no communication. Like that's going to be a devastating factor. No Twitter, no Facebook, no phone calls, no. Even if that went down for a week, like I swear, if phones went down for a week, it would probably be mass chaos. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Do you think I'm wrong? Or like say phones went down for 7 days and like all communication, 7 days, that's it.
Well, if it's just phones go down, I don't think it's going to be a mass chaos as far as that. I mean, yeah, there would be people freaking out. We've already seen people just have their phone taken away from them for a day, and they have the little tantrum fits. They even have a phone addiction hotline where you can, if you're addicted to the internet or you're addicted to your cell phone, you can go seek treatment. But now, as far as communication, as far as not being able to receive information, that will be a huge issue. All right. Now, I'm not talking about cell phones or Twitter. I'm talking about weather. One of the big ones.
Radio, yeah.
We make plans on hurricane season. We know when something's coming in, even though it's several 100 miles off the coast, whatever. Right then, you don't feel it, so you're not really thinking much about it until it rolls in closer on. You have time to prepare. Same with snowstorms that we are unaware of, especially with the recent events and this Arctic blast that we're getting. That's going to be a big issue for our survival. Now, having ham radio, CBs, two ways for closer organizations, that's going to be a huge plus, especially your hams and stuff, because you can reach out further away and they can relay information. Like they can relay movements of troop movement. They can relay information as far as things that are going on in their cities. When it comes to weather that's coming your way, you have that little bit more advancement. Having that form of communication is going to be a huge plus in a survival situation because, you say that you have months without power. All right, well, how do you get communication if you ain't got power? Solar, wind turbines, generators. There's ways to do it. You just have to prepare for it. But having communication is going to be a huge key. You can survive without it, sure. But you're talking about a lot of people that's going to be isolated, a lot of people that are going to be caught off guard. Now, years ago, many, many years ago, we didn't have that information. Yeah, they planned for the cold season. They planned for this. But in today's society now, it's not planned for that. Now, if you live in a subtropical climate where the temperature is always that every year, all right, you're better off, sure, because you can already pretty much plan, well, this is it year round, so I'm good to go. But seeing what's going on with the magnetosphere and the shift that we have with the climate, I don't get into the whole global warming BS. I see a shift coming, and it is related to that magnetosphere that's moving. The North and South Pole are moving. That is going to change our climate. We're seeing it. All right. Now, when that changes, our seasons are going to change with it. Some areas that were, 60% of the years, snow and ice, well, it's going to change. Now, is it going to change?
I'm glad you mentioned seasons. I'm glad you mentioned seasons because here, when you were talking about planting seeds, I have family who are ranchers and stuff, and I also have people I know who are big preppers as well as like you. And I was talking to someone about like what if Yellowstone blew or something and you ended up being a survivor or something, right? But the skies were completely like blacked out, and some of these farmers can tell you what season it is without looking, by just the feel or knowing of the grass and the dew and just, the whatever. And so it's really important because those seeds are like priceless, and if that's your food source or that's your da 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 da. So no, I thought it was cool you mentioned seasons because I think that's important to learn for if you do want to start planting your own food and learning because
your seasons are the huge part of your crops because if you don't know your seasons,
right.
your crops.
And what if it was changed up? What if you looked in the sky, and you had to like figure out how to know the seasons because you couldn't look at how we used to look at there's so different many possibilities. Especially with the shifting, as you put it, and that's what I'm saying. These seeds are precious, the food sources. So, I mean, it could be a learning curve for many too,
It could be a learning curve for
what's ahead.
I know
for what's ahead.
People that actually know how to grow anything. All right. That is a huge learning curve. It's a skill that many people just never got into, and that's going to be an issue. I did see somebody ask, let me scroll back up here. It was about solar. I have solar, but what good will it be if the sun is blocked? All right, so that goes into scenarios. It doesn't. All right, it just depends. A lot of people get hung up on just prepping for one event.
Right.
There's so many different events that can happen. Is what we try to prepare for. So I get what you're saying about solar. What if the sun's blocked? All right, there's also wind that you can use for power. Now, obviously, if the sun is blocked, let's say there's a mash, huge thing in the atmosphere, blocking the sun. Well, really, you're not going to have to worry about your solar panels. You got to be figuring out how to heat because once that happens, you better be expecting an ice age because most of that solar radiation is going to be refracted back to the sun. So being able to run a fan, I'm not really concerned too much about, but I do understand what you're saying about if the sun's blocked, solar won't work. You're absolutely correct. But that's just one scenario, okay? There's other scenarios that are out there that you try to prep for. I wish I could say this is the one thing that's going to happen, and this is what we all need to prep for.
Right. There's no way of doing it. It's having discussions like this.
Yeah, if you put all your eggs in one basket, you're messing up.
Yeah,
unless
exactly.
You have a prophetic thing telling you exactly what you need to be doing, then you obviously follow that. But if you don't, and you're like the rest of us that we don't know what's the danger is coming from, but we know something's going to happen, you try to prepare for it. Now, we try to look at as much of the things going on in the economy, as much of the things going on in the world event, and try to make plans off of that. That's one of the reasons I like Mark Frigal TV. He's able to bring news from all over and condense it down because, trust me, when you're trying to track news everywhere, it will take up all your day. It does, and you're trying to do other things too. It's easier to get information at one spot. I did see, what was that one? Oh, Grand Solar Minimum is real. Yes, I completely agree that Grand Solar Minimum is real. There is a great channel, if you do not know it, is Ice Age Farmer. He's got a great channel. I highly recommend everyone to be checking on his channel if you do not know who he is. He's got a lot of great information.
Here's another thing to think about, Central Florida Prepper, is, you said you want to stay warm, okay? What about how to stay cool? Okay, I know like a lot of like you were talking about people in the bush or something, and I've been fishing and hunting and in some thick brush, okay, in some pretty wild places out around here in these United States. And I'm telling you right now, like there's some old school tricks, like people putting mud on them, or like bites, if you get bit by something, people putting like mud or mosquitoes, this, that, just small little tricks into the trade and just small super skills what do you think about in your mind? Okay, because you're going off grid, you're doing your thing. What do you think the number one reaction of people is going to be once they realize that things are changed here? And they have to start living a life that you someone in your position has already been prepping for and been doing and already ahead of the game. Because in a way that puts people like you in a little more danger than others. Because if it comes to a point where, people are like, oh man, I don't have nothing, and and then they, find people. It's kind of like, the whole saying, like, oh, well, if the EMP hit, you better not have a car that works because you have the only car that works. You're going to get, you got to be very careful in certain situations about certain things. The same goes with all these other countries, You don't flaunt money around in other countries, you get robbed. Same here in America, just this and that. And when it comes to surviving, that's going to be hard, humanity, and to see how many people are going to help each other, how many people are going to end up screwing each other. And then, of course, the gangs, the militias, the mob mentality, and just the civil unrest. And I think that it will become a police state type nation, a lot of new laws in order, this and that. It'll just be different, in my opinion. But what do you think? How are people going to react, Central Florida Prepper? And in your opinion, as someone who's already prepping for this afterwards, are you going to be like the guy who's like, I told you before, are you going to be the guy that's going to kind of be opening to try and build a community? Because I know we've talked about that. Communities, people you trust, helping. But then you also got to be careful when situations like that occur, because you got to police your own.
Yeah, well,
and you got to make sure you're not getting the end of the shot. Like, say you were the safe place to be. You don't want people on your property or living with you, that are gonna like give location away and get you in trouble or get things to that. Like, I mean, what is your thoughts on that whole thing?
Okay, let me go back. You asked a bunch of questions there. Back to the keeping cool. One, I've showed our solar system here. It's a standalone small system. We run fans. We actually have the power to run our AC all day long with it. At nighttime, we are limited with the battery banks that we have. It worked fine. We've been using it for 2 years and haven't had any issues with it. Now, out in the bush, to layman term it, one of the best suggestions I could ever have, and I actually saw Rip Curl had gotten to it before me, is dig a hole. The deeper you go, you will have coolness in the ground, a lot of temperature. The deeper you can get to a certain temperature, hence the root cellars. As far as putting mud on yourself, from my experience, works great for mosquitoes and stuff, but you have to be real careful what type of mud you're getting around, because a lot of the stinky mud that you see on riverbanks and stuff actually are a cesspool for bacteria. So
for sure.
If you can get hold of clay is better for you. It's not as porous as regular mud, because mud does have, so you have to watch out for that, because now you're out there and you don't have a lot of medical abilities. So you got to be careful with that. But mud does work very well with dealing with mosquitoes. It does create a barrier. But I like clay better because it's not as porous as far as bacteria growth and stuff. I did see WV is going live, so we are going to wrap up here, guys. That way,
right on.
Everyone can head over there, and actually we went over our time limit. So anyway, guys, I hope you definitely enjoyed it. I did see some people, Bones and Rip Curl, guys, definitely send me an email. The way I don't really give out my number that much for call-ins. It's really close friends I do that with. I don't have a burner phone for that set up. It's just my own personal number, so I don't really put that out there. So definitely send me an email. Maybe we could work out something as far as getting you on the streams, because basically I just send you an email back with a link when we go live, and then I can bring you in like we did here with Snafu. So anyway, guys, we're going to wrap up.
I appreciate you taking the time to allow you and me to just kind of talk about these subjects, whether they're tinfoil or not, which they can be. Some of these subjects we talked about can be kind of like outlandish, so to speak. But when we talk about subjects like this, it gets everyone to start thinking. And that's the biggest, most important thing. And then especially when we have people like you who are not just saying it, but actually doing it, I mean, much respect, my man, and thank you for giving your audience, your subs, me. I'm a Central Florida Prepper fan, man. Thank you for allowing us to talk about such a serious subject, because I don't think people realize the severity and the ugliness of how bad it really could get. And again, God can be with us, but we have to be smart and be prepared and watch out for ourselves too.
Yeah, exactly.
A prayer is not going to fully feed you.
Well,
it may help you. It will feed you because he'll help you, but you can't be lazy. You can't be the.
You have to do your part. All right. Now, can God move mountains? Absolutely, He can.
Absolutely.
He gives us a brain. He gives us will, our own will, where we can prepare for ourselves. All right. Now, will He step in when you really need Him? Sure, but sometimes you need to prepare because He gives you that brain, gives you that ability, and expects you to use that ability to better yourself. So, anyway, definitely appreciate having you come on tonight, man. I wasn't sure if it was going to happen or not with my internet stuff that was going on over here.
Oh man, we got it done. That's the truth, yo, buddy.
Yeah, we got it done.
We got it done.
So we will go ahead and end our stream. Again, I appreciate every single one of y'all for sticking by with us. I know this was not a topic I usually cover, and like I said, it was just before we started, I went ahead and explained that it was going to be a topic that was different from what we usually talk about. Hopefully no one come across that, fear porn, stuff like that. It's just, you got to plan. All right. And sometimes you have to look at the ugly because that's what you have to plan for. I mean, there's things out there, guys. All right. So yes, we got Snafu Snaps channel up there. So if you are not sub to Snafu Snaps, please make sure you go over there. Actually, I think we got other things. Oh, that's your phone. Okay. I was wondering what that buzz.
Oh, you know what? I think it's, yeah, it must be.
I thought something was on my end. I've never heard that before.
It's actually, I think it's the Discord. I think it's Discord going off.
All right. Right.
But, no, thank you again, man. I really appreciate it. And most of all, I appreciate all of you guys out there. And, I think it's important to, in some ways, we must desensitize ourselves to the ugliness or to the things that cannot be the best, because in reality it's going to protect us. And the more we know situational circumstances, the more where we are, so to speak.
Well, when you make plans, it's easier to react to a situation compared to not having a plan at all. That might be a little bit of Capricorn in me, but it also, because I'm a prepper, try to be prepared for things. All right, guys. So again, we will go ahead and cut out of here. There's some other things going on tonight, and we'll see y'all later.
All right. Thank you, my brother. Have a good night.
Absolutely, man.
All right. Bye, guys.